join me as I just open us up. Allow our heart space to open up and to just be present in this time. And I just give thanks for this day. I give thanks for all that have a part in this. The music, the affirmative reading, the prayers, and the message. And knowing that we are all here gathered together, beginning this day anew. Let go of anything that has come before this time. Just let it go. Let it go. And allow yourself to be present in this moment, right here and right now. And let this celebration, let it begin. And so it is.
There will be mountains that I will have to climb, and there will be battles that I will have to fight. But victory or defeat, it's up to me to decide. But how can I expect to win if I never try?
I just can't give up now. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me the road would be easy, and I don't believe I've come this far to be defeated.
Never said there wouldn't be trials. Never said I wouldn't fall. Never said that everything would go the way I wanted to go. But when my back's against the wall and I feel all hope is gone, I lift my head up to the sky and say, help me to be strong.
I just can't give up now. I've come too far from where I started from.
I've come too far.
Nobody told me the road would be easy, and I don't believe I've come this far to be defeated.
I know that I can't see the road that's led before me, but I can't let doubt defeat me, because I know that you are with me, so
I just can't give up now.
I can't give up now.
I've come too far from where I started from.
Nobody told me.
Nobody told me the road would be easy, and I don't believe I've come this far to be defeated. I just can't give up now. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy, and I don't believe I've come this far to be defeated. I just can't give up now. I've come too far from where I started from. I don't believe I've come this far. 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 I don't believe I've come this far to be defeated.
All right. Y'all sound professional. All right. All right.
What comes from the heart reaches the heart. Good morning and welcome to our Heartstream for this Sunday, January the 29th, 2023. Birthdays in my household in the month of January run deep. My father's birthday is on the 4th, mine is on the 5th, my wife Emma's is on the 23rd, and today, the 29th, is my mother, Mrs. Yvonne Dukes Gilmore's birthday. Happy birthday, Mama. I love you. I'm so proud to be your son, and I'm so happy that you're celebrating your birthday today. It's so good to see you welcoming another new year of life here. We know that this has been a very, very emotional week for us here in the city of Memphis. There have been so many things happening surrounding the death of Tyree Nichols at the hands of Memphis police officers, the video being released, and the fear-mongering that speculated that there was going to be riots and social unrest and all of those things, things closing down, and so much that was happening. And as I sent out a text to the community on Friday, knowing that the video was going to be released, and saying to our Openheartspiritual Center family that we have to continue to be prayerful, we have to do our spiritual work and see and hold things from the highest spiritually exalted point of view. I had the opportunity to be interviewed by my friend Lee Eric on his Facebook page, his broadcast that he does, and it was a last minute thing. He contacted me 45 minutes before he was set to go on air, and Lee Eric Smith, and I sent out a quick text, and there were a number of you that joined, and I'm thankful for that. I know it was last minute, but you took the time and the opportunity to tune in to be a part of that. And as he went down the list of people who were viewing, it was great to see and be able to say and even acknowledge many of you that were a part of the Open Heart community. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. We must continue to be watchful and mindful, and as you'll hear me say later in the message, to be present to all that is taking place in our community in these next few weeks and beyond. We must continue to be the people that we are, and to continue to be the community that we are, to see the divine in one another, which is why I can say, I greet you, I bless you, I see God in you.
Our affirmation for the month of January: divinely free. I am divinely free in 2023. And so it is.
Just breathe. Remember to breathe. Just breathe. All around me, everywhere, seems like nothing but despair, confusion, disillusion. hanging in the air. Cloud of melancholy smears a stain across the sky. Somewhere right now someone's crying, and I don't know why, but I gotta believe that this ain't the end of the road. It's all a bad dream until I believe, and I gotta know the story is still to be told. Just breathe, remember to breathe. I held my four-leaf clover clutch tightly in my hand. The things I thought were useful, I just don't understand. So I click my heels 1,000 times and open my eyes. I just don't know why. I don't know why. I just can't breathe. Woo. With all that's going on around me, I just don't know why. Why my heart remembers to keep on looking toward the sky. I gotta believe it's gonna be alright. Can't you see? You got to believe. You gotta know the story is still being told. Remember to breathe. Got to believe it's gonna be alright. Can't you see? You got to believe. You have got to know the story is still being told. Remember to breathe. Remember to breathe. You gotta believe me. Breathe. If you take the time to breathe right now, breathe in, breathe out. Take a second to breathe from the bottoms of your feet. Breathe.
What's on the card?
A man's mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein, and will continue to produce their kind. Just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds and growing the flowers and fruit which he requires, so may a man tend the garden of his mind, weeding out all the wrong, useless, and impure thoughts, and cultivating toward perfection the flower and fruits of right, useful, and pure thoughts. By pursuing this process, a man sooner or later discovers that he is the master gardener of his soul, the director of his life.
It's time for our announcements. Please watch.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Just have a happy day. Today is a day like no other day.
I'm singing this message to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Just have a happy day.
Playhouse on the Square presents The Scottsboro Boys, a musical which runs until February 19th. It's a very powerful, touching, moving, and at times controversial musical, but something I think that you will enjoy seeing and that will leave you with many different emotions. Our own Emma Crystal is the choreographer for this show. Tickets are available at playhouseonthesquare.org. Shaking the Mess Out of Misery opens this week on February the 3rd at the Hattie Lou Theater. The play follows Daughter, the main character and 25-year-old narrator who shares memories of being raised by a community of women after losing her mother as a child. This timeless coming-of-age tale explores passage into womanhood, race, and rituals in the 1960s South. And it is directed and choreographed by our own Emma Crystal. Tickets can be obtained by calling the box office or by visiting the website. Our daily affirmative prayer call takes place each and every morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. Dial in as one of our prayer team members shares an inspirational reading and then prays for you, all in about 7 minutes. At Open Heart, we believe in the power of affirmative prayer. We don't beg or plead God to do anything, but we set our intention and recognize God expressing itself in, through, and as each and every person. As such, all of these individuals and families that are represented here, we see them healed, we see them comforted, we see them strengthened, we see them encouraged, we see whatever it is that they have a need for and a desire for, and we hold the space for them, knowing it's already done in the mind of God. And so it is. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am richly blessed, creating a greater and greater and greater flow. We have ways in which you can give and support Open Heart through Cash App. Our cash tag is OHSC901. You can go online to our website, OHSC901.com. Click on the word give and contribute there. Or you can text the word give to 615-422-4292. Infinite prosperity is mine to share. I am blessed. Thank you for your gifts. Thank you to those of you who have supported us through Amazon Smile. Amazon has announced that at the end of February, they will discontinue the program. But thank you for all that you have done. Those of you, I know I've heard from several of you that use Amazon Smile every time you make orders from Amazon, and we were receiving the result of your support and appreciate the donations that we got on your behalf. Thank you again. You can continue using Amazon Smile until the end of February when it goes away.
see that your neighbor's house is burned, think before you answer. Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure that there will still be time when we realize that you've been blind? Think before you answer. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Think before you answer. Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Tell your fellow man.
Are you
Help him any way you can.
Are you sure?
Yes, you should be sure.
Are you sure? 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 Are you
All right, good job. Okay,
That's good. Next, I know we kind of messed up on the.
Uh-oh.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received for good or for evil in the superlative degree of comparison only. Many of you might be familiar with the opening lines of the novel by Charles Dickens entitled The Tale of Two Cities. The events of recent weeks here in Memphis made me think of this title and its opening lines as a way to describe things here. And while I'm aware that there are people from other places than Memphis who watch this Heartstream, I hope that you will indulge me today because I know that the attention of the country, if not the world, has been on Memphis the last few days. I know I've gotten phone calls and text messages from all over the country from friends who are concerned and who are aware of the things that are happening here. So why a tale of two cities? We've been celebrating several things. The Memphis Grizzlies basketball team was on a winning streak, and the University of Memphis's men's basketball team celebrated as hometown hero Penny Hardaway won his 100th game as head coach. There were many other things that we as a community were celebrating, and thousands of Memphians were going about their daily lives. People like you and me. I know I had 2 birthdays in my household to celebrate, and there were the usual day-to-day happenings. And then suddenly, like in the 1936 movie, The Green Pastures, where the angel Gabriel, who's eager to blow his horn to bring about an end to the world, turns to God and says that everything nailed down is coming loose. That's when we learned more about the beating and the death of Tyree Nichols at the hands of Memphis police officers. Word that the video of the incident was horrific, and as the date that it would be released to the public was approaching, there was fear-mongering. There was a talk about there would be riots and social unrest, and places were closing down early and canceling events and engagements, and all of those things in anticipation of something that might happen as a result of what people would see. Two cities, two narratives, the best of times, the worst of times, celebratory mode, trauma mode. Now, I don't claim to have all of the answers, but I will offer you this. When I worked as a chaplain in Dallas at a hospital, Parkland Hospital, which was a level 1 trauma unit at the hospital, and I remember my first day as an on-call chaplain there. And I can also recall that I was beat almost immediately as soon as I put my pager on to the emergency room. And as I got there, they explained to me that there was a patient inside of one of the rooms whose family had gathered around him for his last moments, that he was a DNR, which meant do not resuscitate. And that was puzzling to me at the time. I'd not heard that term before, but they said it simply that they were just going to allow him to die. So I walked in the room and I saw this family gathered around this gentleman who was lying in the bed. His eyes were closed. His breathing was quite heavy and labored, and they were all holding hands. And as I walked in, I introduced myself as Chaplain Gilmore. I started saying things to them, but I noticed that nobody was listening to me. And then two of the family members, they let go of hands. They gestured to me. I joined hands with them. And then we all stood there for those last few minutes as we watched him take a breath. And his breathing became shallower and shallower. And finally, he took his last breath. And it was at that moment I offered a prayer. And then I said the things that I needed to say, the official things to the family about what funeral home they would call and all that. And then I walked out of the room feeling like I'd not done a whole lot for them, feeling like there was something else that I could have done. But I recall that a number of months later, I was visiting my doctor's office that was in the same area of the hospital, and there was this beautiful fountain that was outside, and a lot of people would like to go out there and gather. And I had some time after my appointment, so I went and sat down at the fountain and was enjoying myself, and I noticed a woman across a few feet away from me who kept looking at me. And as I got up to leave, I heard someone say, "Excuse me, sir," and I turned around and it was her. And she said, "Were you a chaplain at the hospital?" And I said, "Yes, I worked as a chaplain for a while." And she said, "Well, I know you were the one that was there when my father died." And she said, "I don't remember what you said, but I just want to thank you on behalf of me and my family for being there. Thank you for being there." And I've said this before, the power of presence. It was then that I knew that all of the words that I was trying to come up with and the things that I was trying to say weren't the most important things at that moment, but being present. The power of presence was the most important thing that I could have done in that moment. So what I'm offering here today is the idea that in the midst of what is happening here in our Memphis community is to be present, to be present. I know that a lot of people have been using the term stay woke, but the idea of wokeness is now being used by the right wing as a weapon in the culture wars that they are instigating. And I like the idea of being present. It's congruent with our teaching, so to be present. Because after all, I recognize that it's easy to slip back into business as usual, particularly since the fear-mongering didn't produce the riots and the unrest as predicted. And I attribute it in part to the quick response by the police chief to fire the officers and the DA to charge them. But we know that there's more that should be coming. But I also would like to acknowledge that the actions of those taking place would not have been possible had it not been for the advocacy that has been taking place in this community for a long time. And I mean a long time. There have been people that have been calling for reform and been calling for justice, even past some of these present day realities that we see. People who've been working for a very long time. And it's very interesting to see now people jockeying into position to take credit. But before some of these people, and I commend them, but before some of these people, there have been people that were working for a very long time. I see conversations taking place about who the national media chose to interview. And that's again where I say, be present. Don't get caught up in these things. Don't get caught up. The fact of the matter is that the work that needs to be done is being done. Be present. Be thankful that it's happening. Be present, because it's a long way from over. There's still two narratives. One that says Memphis is progressing. The other talks about how crime-ridden and how dangerous we are. And it is possible for two things to be true at the same time. We are making progress, but I don't want to blur the fact that we have problems that need to be addressed. Be present. But whenever we allow the worst of times narrative to rule the day, because you still see people talking about it all the time, how worse things are, watch out. That's what makes it possible for units like the Scorpion unit to come into being, because the narrative that we live in a crime-ridden, dangerous community come forth. That's when we hear the law and order rhetoric from our politicians and see them getting elected on those platforms and things. That's when we see our communities being over-policed. And because of that, incidents like this happen. I know that there's probably more at stake than this, but I do know of those incidents where people have run into these units and had their encounters with them and received harassment from these units and other things. So we have to continue to be present. To be present means to bring another narrative to the table. To be present means that we allow, again, our spiritual resources to come forth. And I'm not talking about a spiritual bypass. As a black man, I cannot do a spiritual bypass as some people seek to do in these situations. The reality of living day to day in an environment where my existence is questioned and even threatened cannot allow me to do that. And I want to offer here again this morning the idea that while people are talking about the solution is more police officers on the street and stricter laws and all of that, I want to raise the idea that we have resources within the community to address our problems. The solution is not just more police, but there are creative ways and creative people that as we allow this creativity to come forth, which is again for me that creativity and spirituality work hand in hand. And as we allow our creativity to come forth because of our spiritual basis, then things can begin to happen. We need to have people, and I believe that you are a part of that, people who haven't given up on Memphis, but for whom the best of times narrative stands as an ideal, much like a world that works for everyone. In the anthology New Thought Revolution, A Powerful Vision for the Future, edited by Harv Bishop, many of the writers point to the idea that the Center for Spiritual Living and the Association for Global New Thoughts, a world that works for everyone, is a return to the New Thought, ancient wisdom community of the ideals of social justice that so many of the pioneers of New Thought were about. We teach, and you've heard me say, that your thoughts and your consciousness create your reality. And that's true. But it must also be acknowledged that there are other forces at play, such as global economics and racial inequality and poverty, and so many things that are also a part of this process. That's why being present is so important. Be present, to be mindful, to stay aware, to pay attention what we are paying attention to, because you see, a higher vision can prevail, and we are the ones that we have been waiting for. We can continue to be the catalyst behind the changes that must take place. We can't wait for the change, but become agents of change. We believe in giving their people their non-negotiable dignity as human beings. That was the basis for organizing Open Heart. I was tired of seeing people marginalized and pushed to the fringes of society, particularly in their religious institutions and places where they were seeking spiritual growth and enlightenment because of so many factors, including their sexual orientation, because they might have had beliefs that were quite or slightly different or quite different from others because they choose to march to the beat of their own drummer and all of that. That was a part of the basis for creating Open Heart and organizing Open Heart, that we would have the non-negotiable dignity as human beings, as spiritual beings, as ours, a bigger idea for life. Andrew Harvey says it like this: when the deepest and most grounded spiritual vision is married to a practical and pragmatic drive to transform all existing political, economic, and social institutions, a holy force, the power of wisdom and love in action is born. This force I define as sacred activism. The narrative that prevails, the best of times or the worst of times, is up to us. I believe, I declare, I know, I understand that the narrative that you and I are charged with moving forth and moving forward and articulating and finding creative solutions to make it possible is one that stands for the best of times, that we can see the best of times happening even in our lifetime, even happening for us. Amen, Ashe, and so it is.
There was a time in my life, thought I had to do it all for myself. Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, gotta let it go. Gotta let it all go. Are you listening? You got to let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open. Yes, I'm only here for God.